Welcome to one of the past HSC exam question videos. In this video, we're going to cover this exam question, which comes from the 28th question and is worth 4 marks. While doing a second, I'll read the actual question. Once I've read the question, about 5 seconds, pause the video. Once you pause the video, attempt the question, and then press play when you're ready. And I'll go over the actual marking guidelines. Plus, in addition to that, I'll also go over a sample answer as well. So when you're ready, pause the video and attempt the question. Welcome back. Alright, so to get 4 marks, what you have to do is the following. So this is the marking guideline. So you get 4 out of 4. You have to outline the secondary immune response and immature immunity of the actual child, and link both of that to why we inoculate them so early on, right? So basically what that's saying is, how do vaccines work? How do these vaccines help, right? So how do they help? And also, why do we do it specifically with children, right? Because children have a weak immune response, which means they are very easily infected by pathogens. And then if that happens, they are at risk from dying, more or less. So you talk about both the weak immune response and also the fact that vaccines help when it comes to not having to have that immune response, because that means they are immune without being infected, right? But you also have to connect it to at the end as well. So basically a connection between vaccines and early childhood problems when it comes to undeveloped immunity, right? And then at the end you just link them, and I'll show you how that's done. But you have to say both of that and link it to get full marks. So first what I wrote is, young babies have very underdeveloped immune response and are therefore very susceptible to infection from pathogens that cause disease, right? So that's one thing I've said, that these young babies have underdeveloped immune responses and therefore are susceptible to having a severe infection. Then I talk about what vaccines are and how these do the secondary immune response, because that's what we have to discuss as well. That's basically the purpose of vaccines. Vaccines produce immunity in an individual without posing a high risk. So that's good, because children would especially babies, would have very much high problems when it comes to being infected. So without posing a high risk that a natural infection would present. They do so by activating the primary immune response when white blood cells detect the weakened or deactivated pathogens. This will produce memory cells that will stay in the blood and are quick to initiate the more powerful secondary immune response when the pathogens re-enter the body. Right? So, yep, that's what vaccines do, more in a nutshell. That's what the role of vaccines are. So now I've said that babies have a very weak immune response, and that vaccines basically will produce a very powerful secondary immune response and give a child immunity. But now I have to link the two together still, and that's what I do in the last statement. The immunity that is gained from vaccines is especially important for young children due to their undeveloped immune response. Hence, why many vaccines are given at such a young age, right? So here I've just said, I've tied the two things together. I've said they have a very weakly undeveloped immune response. So if we give them so many vaccines early on, that means they're protected and the risk of deadly infection is reduced, more or less. And where does the question come from? It just comes from this dot point. Outline the role in which vaccines prevent infection, and a bit of the other dot point when it comes to talking about previous vaccination campaigns that include smallpox, diphtheria, and polio. But more or less the top one is the main one. But hopefully that was useful.